Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Kevy's RC Hobby Shop. Now grab your popcorn guys, it's review time, so a little bit of a lengthy video, but you know I like to be thorough and that's the way things are. So today we're going to talk to you about the HSP Ghost 1/18 scale Truggy. Now this is full hobby grade. It's under $200. Well under $200, which is a big bonus to start getting into hobby grade stuff. It's a very fast machine, 4-wheel drive, independent suspension. Already has hobby grade suspension already on it, oil filled shocks, really bonus. 2.4 gigahertz control system. Has steering trim, throttle trim, LED light tells you your radio's on. The radio only uses 4 AA batteries, which is great. It comes with a 7.2 volt nickel methyl hydrate battery at 1100 milliamps that they've already installed in the car for us, and you don't even have to touch a screw. They're already been set up right from the factory, so all you got to do is charge this thing up, throw in some batteries in your radio, and go have fun. That's great. Okay, so we're going to give you the good and the bad because you guys know I got to give you both. Now there's not very much bad to say about this thing. So let's start with the first thing that's a real eyesore, and that's the charger. Okay, all the HSP products for their electric stuff comes with a 230 volt AC/DC adapter, which has an output of 9 volts. Now this is fine if you're in a country that has these plugs, but if you're in good old Canada or the US, we have a different kind of plug that we need to use. And we're also running about half the voltage. So I thought to myself, I brought this thing in to sell it, and after doing some investigating and find out that all the HSP products are the same way, and they say 230 volts, be careful. Well, what do you got to be careful about? You can plug it into 120 volts, you're not going to hurt anything. So I got these adapters that convert the plug, which is fine. Plug it in though, did a battery voltage test because I figured, oh, I better because I have a feeling. And of course, as usual, I was right. I had my feeling, I was correct. I'm only putting out 6 volts instead of 9. So there's no way to charge the battery with the charger they supply when hobby shops like myself in Canada are carrying the HSP products. So we needed a fix. So the first thing we did was cut the battery connector off this charger, and then we get rid of this charger. I've got another charger here that I've been able to bring in, and this is also a nickel methyl hydrate charger, but it's already set up for Canada. Okay, and it's Canada only, 120 volt, 9 volt output. It's designed for 7.2 volt, 1100 milliamp nickel methyl hydrate batteries. You could probably charge a higher milliamp battery with it, but it's just going to take longer. These already come with a Dean's connector. So what I did was, of course, I chopped the connector off the original power supply and soldered on a female Dean's, and we just plug it in, and we can now properly charge our car up without any hassle. This is going to add an extra expense of about $20 to the price of the car, and I'm not making anything on this charger because by the time I get the charger in, Dean's connector on it, etc., I'm at about 20 bucks. So I'm not making anything on the charger. But my job as a hobby shop too is to make sure that my customers get a product that they can take home, plug into the wall, charge their battery up, and have fun with it. So, you know, but I'm not going to absorb $20 and take that big hit because there's not a lot of profit in a lot of these things. So, you know, I can only take so much of a hit. So it is going to be an additional $20 above what I normally sell this Ghost for, and of course the other HSP products, but at least you're going to now have a proper charger in that box and not have any hassle whatsoever. So that's now a problem and an eyesore that's now been corrected. The second problem with this car is they give you in your package, of course they give you a hop-up parts and regular parts. You got your manual, you do get a 4-way wrench, and you get this antenna tube. You also get 2 of what's called spring clips. And we're going to talk about them in a minute. But the antenna tube I'm going to recommend you do not use it. Okay, for one, it makes your Truggy look like a toy, grade hug Truggy at that point. I don't like the looks of an antenna sticking out of a toy, especially hobby grade, and it's 2.4 gigahertz. I don't want to see that thing, okay? The other thing is it's going to cause a problem. You're going to have to drill your canopy in order to use it. It will plug in. I'll show you. We're going to take the canopy off in a minute. But when that thing flexes in a roll, it's going to start really pushing in, and where you drilled that hole, of course, makes a weak point in the plastic. So it's going to fold over in a bunch of rolls, and then it's going to start destroying your canopy real fast. So, you know, it's enough you're going to take wipeouts and eventually kill your canopy, but do you want to kill it sooner? I certainly do not. And I don't like the toyish look. So I've decided to say, do not use it. It's your choice. Whatever you do is what you do. But I would say don't use it, and you really don't need to. I've already had the car out just the way it sits at over 200 feet away and had no control issues. When you're playing in the field with this thing, you're not usually 200 feet away, okay? So you got to be able to see your Truggy as you're going around the course and stuff, you know, or wherever you happen to be driving it. So the range on this is very exceptional, and I haven't been too much past the 200-foot range, but I'm sure it'll go quite far away and get real tiny as it goes. So that's the secondary thing. Now the other drawback to this car, and everybody has the same issue and nobody has an answer for it, is rear suspension sag. The rear end actually sits, it squats, and nobody's found a fix yet. Well, I've got a fix for you. Let's take the canopy off. Now I already did lose one of my metal clips off the top because I had a rollout when I was night driving with this thing. Where'd that one go? I'll find it. Anyways, so I had to rob one from my battery tray and then put a wire in place. So I got to order some more clips in for this thing. There we go. Oh, there's our other clip. So the rear suspension. Now those clips that I told you about, the spring clips, all you're going to do is pull down on your shock spring, and there's a cap too on the bottom. You got to make sure you pull that down with it. Pop one of your spring clips in, either underneath or on top of the other, on each side. This now lifts your center of gravity back up and even, and now you got more spring throw. It's a little stiffer too. So, and when it comes to the rebound, okay, let's put it all the way down, lift it up. Now if we lift up, we're going to see there's not very much travel before they're fully extended. That's good. So now we got a good rear suspension again, and the parts were already in the package. Now a lot of people would have probably thought, well, those are just extra parts in case I lose one. Not necessarily. This is a tunable suspension, so you can tune your suspension up. Now I'm going to order extra clips because I want to see how the car is going to react to having 3 of them stacked on the rear. You know, the suspension is still a little softer in the back than it is in the front, okay, but that's alright. We're at least sitting level. Now there's benefits to having your suspension leveled out. You're going to get more top end speed. Alright, that's going to be a plus. Because when you're dragging your rear end, your car is dragging itself along. 4-wheel drive or not, it's dragging itself along, and this reduces your speed. It does give you the benefit of increased traction, which is a plus, because you want to have traction. We all do. So you're going to lose a little bit of traction by recentering that center of gravity, but you're also going to gain a little bit more speed out of your car. And this thing's fast enough as it is, even straight out of the box, before you add the spring clips into the back. I mean, this thing really can boogie. I'm very, very impressed that for the price of the car, for what it is, and even the fact that it's a brushed motor system, period, this thing is extremely fast. I really am very, very impressed with this car. Okay, so the suspension now has a fix for it, guys. And so now it's going to jump a lot better. You will have a little bit less traction than what you had before in the rear, but you've got the speed edge, you've got the suspension edge now, Okay, and we're going to see just how well we can tune this thing up, because you don't want your suspension too stiff. Okay, but what these clips do is they add preload onto the spring, so it forces the spring to try and stretch out, which also brings you up. So same time, you've still got a good dampening system here. Okay, so it's all good points there. Now I find on the dirt it's really crazy now having that rear end off the ground, like it was dragging type of thing, you know what I mean? It was just a sag issue and it really sucked. But this is full hobby grade, so there's a lot of metal upgrade parts for this thing too, and a lot of other types of hop-up parts. You can also switch to a brushless system. Now if you do go with the HSP brushless system, they say you still have to use the nickel methyl hydrate battery. They don't recommend using a LiPo because it can damage the receiver, or it could also probably damage the motor because it's not all LiPo ready. But there is third-party brushless upgrade kits out there for this car, especially the Leopard upgrade kit. And for that, you're going to want to change your gear train over to metal gears at that point to add extra strength, because those Leopard motors put out an awful lot of horsepower. So you don't want to be stripping your gears as soon as you touch the throttle. There's steering upgrades for metal upgrades, just all kinds of hop-up parts for this thing. Even tires and rims, you know, that you can hop up on this thing and, you know, bring some more height to it, etc. You know. Now I do have a motor cooler on here already. It is an optional part if you read your parts list. They actually call it a motor heat proof cover. What this does is it allows your engine to run a lot cooler, because I do warn you, your engine is going to run really super hot. They are not kidding. After 10 minutes of running, I touched my finger on the engine and yeah, it's real super hot, you know. And to me, in a brushed motor, you want to keep a brushed motor especially as cool as possible, because heat will kill anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Kills batteries, kills motors, but it also causes your motor, when it's running hotter, to surge more juice out and to draw more than what the system can really give it. So if you can cool down that motor, you're going to increase your performance, you're going to get longer playtime, you're going to increase the lifespan of your motor, bottom line. Okay? Now I already had these coolers. They were actually from a helicopter, and they used these, and so I just had to give mine a little squish inward, slap it on there, and it's stiff as a board. It isn't coming off. So if you're going to use the cooler too, which I do highly recommend, make sure you leave your breather holes open for your motor. Do not cover those up. Now another thing that I've seen a few guys on videos that like, I plugged it in and nothing happens. Well, there is a power on and off switch. Okay, you want to make sure your power's turned on after you plug your battery and turn your remote on. Otherwise you ain't going anywhere. So you do have to turn the car on physically. A lot of hobby grade stuff does not have power switches for a good reason. We don't need them, okay? And don't really want them. But this car happens to have a power switch on it. So when you plug your battery in, make sure your power switch is in the on position and you can drive. Now, that's pretty much the end of the bad points to it. Now, there's only one thing that kind of annoys me a little, is that in your dog bone link areas where all your dog bones plug into, they tend to attract sand and dirt and gravel, like, you know, any car will, and I realize this myself, but it is a little annoying because when you get enough of that crap in there, it starts to sound like your gearbox is going to explode when it's not. So if you're a panic person like me and you really don't want to wreck anything, set your air compressor to 50 psi, take a break, blow all that crap out, and then keep running. Otherwise, it's not going to hurt anything. You can get stones collect up underneath in here and little pieces of gravel. You do have a drive shaft that goes from the rear to the front, and I've had a couple pieces of stone actually get in there and go clankety clank against the shaft. Now, it's not going to hurt the shaft, it's an ABS shaft, but it does make an annoying sound, and so I just pull my battery out, and dump all the gravel out, give the car a good shake upside down, and that clears it all out, and then my motor sounds normal again. If you watch my video called HSP Ghost Driving Fun, you'll actually see where I actually shook the car upside down to get that noise out of there again, because I had already taken a burn on the road. I took it through the gravel driveway onto the sand, and you know, did a couple jumps. By then, I mean, the sand just was everywhere, so you know, I had to give it a good shake out, and it was fine again. So you know, your gearbox is not going to explode. Now, right out of the box, guys, you don't have to adjust anything other than your trim control for your steering. You don't even have to tighten up your nuts, but double check them anyways. I double checked mine just because I want to make sure that, you know, somebody didn't mess up, and you know what? Everything was perfect. Even all my ball links that hold on, you know, my steering arms and all that, my suspension, those were already tight right from the factory. Everything was already pre-adjusted, and they're all steel ball links, which is nice, so they're going to be durable. They're going to withstand a lot of crash pressure. You know, I mean, you're going to break an arm, or you should break an arm before you break one of your steel ball links. But I mean, if you do break a ball link somehow, you can always get replacements. They're really cheap. All the parts for stock parts for this thing are really super cheap. So if you don't want to go into metal hot-bops and spend a whack load of money upgrading this thing right to the end, you don't have to. It's an optional thing. You know, I would highly recommend that you use the clips though that come with it, and beef that rear end up so that the rear end is back to normal again. I would like to suggest that if HSP ever saw this video, they might take to heart that charger system, and if they're still going to put out a 230 volt charger, at least change your the transformer to one that can step down to 120 and still put out the 9. Because I know myself, I import a lot of stuff from other countries, and I get these chargers that are dual base, that's 120 and 230. So when I do use that adapter to go to 120 volt, at least the transformer says, okay, I got half the juice, I still have to put out the full DC power to charge this guy's battery. So the transformer knows that. The transformer that comes with the HSPs does not know that, so you won't get the proper voltage. That's why, from my shop at least, we're going to be replacing the transformers in all the HSP products with one set up and built for Canada for 120 volt system, or wherever you happen to live that's a 120 volt system. So you won't have to worry about anything. You'll be able to have your car, take it home, plug it in, charge it, and go have fun and play. I'm going to see about how cheaply I can get these things in, you know, just keeping costs down. And if I can get them cheap enough, I might even just throw them on the car for you, or add it in the package. You can put it on yourself. I'll see what I can do about that, guys, because I really do recommend you have that heat sink on the motor. It's going to run cooler, it's going to give you longer play time, it's going to keep your horsepower up. Okay, these are all benefits. You know, I don't know why HSP just didn't put it on there, but they didn't, and that's fine. You know, I mean, when you find out what you pay for these things, I mean, you got to figure there's some things that you're going to have to just buy extras of, you know, or buy the optional parts, and that's fine, because even running without the heat sink, you're not going to fry anything. I mean, I had a couple of good runs with it without the heat sink, didn't bother it at all. You know, it was just a little bit on the hot side. So now I want to talk to you about the battery. It's a 7.2 volt 1100 milliamp nickel methyl hydride battery, so it is very important to make sure you have a proper NIM charger for it. But on the other side of the fence, your battery is going to get pretty warm as it's being used, and that's normal for any battery in any RC, whether it's toy grade or hobby grade. I'm going to recommend, guys, that no less than 30-minute cool down time on that battery before you decide to recharge it, because when you recharge a warm or a hot battery, you can damage the battery and shorten its lifespan. Now, I am going to say this as a benefit to you guys. By using NIM packs and NiCads in your hobby grade or toy grade stuff, you can run the voltage down extremely low in these batteries and not hurt them. A LiPo battery is not permitted to drop below 3 volts per cell, or you damage the battery, and sometimes you can damage it beyond recovery. Okay, and if you do recover it, sometimes it's only going to last for a couple more cycles, and it's going to puff out anyhow. And I've had that experience myself, because I've managed to save an 11.1 volt 3-cell before, and I got about a half a dozen more runs out of it, and it puffed. So it worked for a few rounds more, but it really didn't save me in the end. Okay, so very important if you do a LiPo upgrade, or you are running LiPo batteries in your RC stuff, that is a big thing you need to be concerned about with LiPos. And same with them, they're going to get hot too, to a degree. I mean, they shouldn't get really hot. They should get, like, you know, kind of like lukewarm, and that'd be about it. But with your LiPos, it's very important to let them cool down for a good while too before recharging them. Anyways, you'll get maximum lifespan and maximum cycles even in your NIM packs if you allow them to cool down. Now, another benefit they say is on NIM packs, which I kind of don't really believe, is the being able to take it on and off on the fly for charging. I find that that really doesn't help the battery any. I'd rather see the battery drained down, cooled off, and then recharged for maximum cycles. Because otherwise, I mean, even NIM packs can actually build a little bit of a memory. They're not so nasty as NiCads. I mean, NiCads build a memory, you're screwed. But on the NIM packs, it's a much harder to build that memory in the battery, but it can do it. So, you know, drain them down, run them down, charge them back up after, you know, letting them sit for a good half an hour. You know, and I'm really serious on that half an hour thing. Let it sit for a half an hour. Anyway, other than that, I can't really say anything else bad about this car. All I can say is very wonderful stuff about it. I love the range. I love all the digital control system. Now, as far as the speed goes, there's no actual clocked speed that I've found anywhere. The only thing I have to compare this thing against is my Audi S4, which does about 20 miles an hour. And I'm, yes, miles per hour. And this thing smokes it. So I know that this thing's going over 20 miles an hour. So it's very fast machine, very torquey. So it has a lot of torque and it has a lot of speed. All great benefits to have in a Truggy. Okay. Now, as far as the speed goes, when you're going like forward, you've got your fastest speed, of course. When you go in reverse, you won't go as fast in reverse as you can in forward. And you really wouldn't want to do that anyhow. But the thing is it does have some good speed in reverse, but it's just not as fast as it is forward. I don't think any of these things are. You know, but I haven't played with that many hobby grade buggies and Truggies yet, so, you know, I've got an actual buggy that I'm working on right now, and I want to get it back up and running. And then I'll see how it's fully reacting, because I never did do a reverse speed test with it yet. But forward speed, it's pretty snappy. So anyway, leaving it stock, you'll always keep your cost and repairs down to a minimum. You go to the metal upgrades and hop-ups, it's going to cost you more. A lot of those parts will never break, but some parts, of course, eventually will. And some of those parts, I mean, a steering link system, you get your 2 steering arms and your main inner bar and stuff. That's like about 19 bucks off one website that I seen. So I thought, you know what, 19 bucks, that's not a bad little investment. And it's all anodized aluminum. And it's, you know, I saw the blue and I like the blue stuff. So, you know, I mean, but that's another, you know, 19 bucks you got to spend, you know, plus shipping. And that's just for your steering links. You still got, you know, your tie rods and all that other stuff, and, you know, whatever else you want to turn into metal that is available. So it's hobby though, and that's what you got to realize is when you're into a hobby grade device, they can cost you minimal with stock parts, but they can cost you more when it comes to all the hop-ups and upgrades. Hop-ups and upgrades do upgrade the quality quite substantially, okay, and it also, of course, is going to up the value of your vehicle, okay. Performance-wise, I mean, yes, going brushless is definitely going to be a big increase in performance, but if you go brushless, I would change over, like I said, to metal gears instead of the plastic gears. You know, you'll have a much better time with metal gears and a brushless motor, because the brushless motor is a lot more speed, a lot more torque, you know, so when you nail that trigger, you don't want to strip your gear teeth out of your gears, you want them to stay together, you know. So if you go brushless, be aware of that. I mean, I've gunned this from dead stops. I've had no problems. I haven't chewed a tooth up yet, nothing. And it's very torquey, very fast car. So anyway, that's the basics. That's about as much as I can really tell you. Now, the tires here, I'm going to point out the tires are very good for the road, and they're good for hard packed sand. They're not good on loose sand, and not that great on grass that's tall. But if you have really short grass, like golf course type grass in your yard, if you're playing in the yard, it'll go through fine like that. But longer grass, it's going to really struggle to fight through, just because it's a low rider machine to begin with, and the tires, you know, don't have the grip for peeling through the grass. But for hard packed sand, really good. Very good on the roadway. Going over gravel rocks, like you'll see in my video, I've got a pretty rocky driveway, but I've also got sand that's also hard packed, and the top surface of the sand is a little loose, but you know, so it makes for a lot of fun. The four-wheel drive is awesome on this thing. So, but anyways, that's the tires. Now there are hop-up tires and rims and stuff you can add onto this, which will also help raise the height off the ground more too, you know. But that's all in there. There's a lot of information on this thing everywhere, on a lot of the stuff you can do to this thing. The only last thing I wanted to point out, your pins for your canopy. Okay, your front ones, you can't adjust the height. I don't know why they didn't do it so you could do front and back, but your rear ones are already pre-drilled, so you can go up higher. It gives you about another 1/4 of an inch of height, roughly. So you can either drill the fronts or just order another set of rears and replace them into the front end, and then you can lift that canopy up evenly, all the way up as high as they can go. So that's kind of cool because it gives you a bit more height, and you know, changes the look a bit and whatnot of the car. So that's another thing you can do with this thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, I know my review videos get long, but you know, I gotta tell you guys, you know, everything I know, and you know, no BSing, no shortcutting, and give you as much information as I possibly can, you know, type of thing. So now, one final thing, you will not get a metric Allen key with this car, and these ball links all use a metric Allen key, and you got to make sure that Allen key fits precisely perfect. So you know, you're going to need an Allen key for that, because that's how you remove all your ball links out, and because that's just the way they did it. And of course then you just need a screwdriver that properly fits the screws. And that's pretty much it for tools. You know, there's not much tools required to work on this thing, and they give you the 4-way wrench, so you're already set there. But other than that, that's it. Thanks again. See you in the next video.